Hey folks, just going to do a quick video, hopefully it's quick, on modifying some of my implements to fit the quick hitch here. So, video or so back, showed you the quick hitch and the ballast box. We got the ballast box filled up with concrete, and that is working out great. I really like the convenience of just being able to set it down and unlock the two levers here at the top. Just reach back, I can do from the tractor seat, and then set this down. So further to that, what I need to do is modify my rear forks so that they will become quick hitch compatible. Now these were not ever advertised as quick hitch compatible, and what they have is these tabs, and the pin comes through the tab, and it is just a 1/4 inch too tight for the quick hitch. The quick hitch is 28 inches on center, and then the arms themselves need 30 inches clearance, and I just don't quite have it here. So I thought about modifying the pin and maybe welding it in, and it's still just going to slide past that tab every single time. So that's going to become a pain, kind of take some of the convenient factor away. So what I think I'm going to do is, so I've made these up, and that is just 3/8 flat bar, 3/8 thickness and 4 inches wide, and they're 5 inches long. Flat bar with a piece of 7/8 cold rolled round bar in there, and the round bar is going to become my pin. So I've got that. I just TIG welded the pin in there, and what I'm going to do first, I believe, is I'm going to torch these off. There's a lot of different ways I could get these off, but my plasma is just not quite thick enough to get through there, or it will not quite cut this material. It's rated for, I think, 1/4 inch, and then you can do a sever, which is a pretty ugly rough cut. So I could zip disc them, I could sawzall them, but I think I'm just going to torch them off, and I'm probably going to leave an inch or so here, because it does span these two members and help tie that in. So I'm not going to grind it right down. I'll just leave that and then round it over. And then this piece eventually, I believe, is going to probably sit around in here somewhere. And then that'll give me 3.5 inches basically of a target in between this pin, or in between these two pieces of 3/8 flat bar. This is going to be about 3.5 inches to be able to slide the quick hitch in there and pick that up easily. Once those are tacked on, then I have to figure out what I'm going to do on the top to make it work with the hook. But yeah, I can do that. It's just going to be a bit of time. Got some time today. I'm in between welding projects, so it's kind of working out well. Get this done and then get back up and running. Okay. Well, that's okay. I got them ground down and rounded off, and got all the loose, burnt off paint cleaned up. You can see the welds now. That was put on at the factory. Interesting. Everything looks better with a thick coat of powder, or a thick covering of powder coat, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Nevertheless, I don't like to make a point of saying too many bad things about other people's welds. Some of mine turn out to be real stinkers too. Anyhow, I'm going to take it into the shop and figure out where I'm going to tack on those new pieces. So I remeasured the quick hitch, and it is actually it's 28 1/4 to the center of each of the arms I pick up. So I measured this out, and this is approximately where these are going to go. The one on the right hand side, I have to take some of that weld out of there to move it over just a little bit so I can hit that center mark. But the one on the left is a little bit closer. So that is going to give me tons of room, because that lift arm is going to hit right on that center of that new piece that I've made up. So don't have to be, deadly accurate every single time I lift up, or I guess lift up more on the forks when I change implements. Otherwise, you can see how much different it looks from where the old piece was. It would just be squeaking past that every single time. And honestly, it may not have even cleared at all. It was going to be so tight. The old pins weren't like this. It was just a single pin coming from that tab. So this should add some strength as well to the design, being picked up in two spots like that. So yeah, that's it for now. I'm going to grab some lunch and then come out and do some more grinding. And once that's all done, I'll take it in the shop, and it'll be ready to tack those on. Then I'll probably drop the ballast box and then see what I have to do to get that top hook to work. So I'm just starting to get an idea of how the whole quick hitch works. That top hook, it's just kind of along for the ride. It doesn't do any lifting at all, but so that has to be put in such a way that it doesn't really try to carry any weight or interfere with anything. I do have a hydraulic top link, which I love. And what I want to do is, you can see this is the Landpride standard top hook hole. I want to keep everything standardized. My other implements are Landpride, so I don't want to have to switch that hook back and forth for anything that I aren't regularly using. Neighbors, something a neighbor has that I have to use, that's a little bit different. This is what makes the QH16 new, or an upgrade I guess from the QH15, is that adjustable hook. So you can try to make it work with some of your existing implements. Those aren't the right pins, by the way, but since I'm welding everything up now, I will make it so it's as easy and universal as possible. I suppose that's the word. Yeah, interestingly, the ballast box right from Landpride, tight tolerances there. Really tight. I would have done that a little bit different, so that picks that up in the middle of the pin. Yeah, must have to do with the weight and where the load is. I can't see why they would not do that correctly. So I guess, rather than picking that right in the middle of the pin, interestingly, they're picking it up closer to the support. And I'm kind of going to do the opposite. Give that some thought. Anyhow, there's the ballast box. looking good. I caulked around the seam where the cement meets the steel, so won't get any water creeping down in between there. And yeah, you got to remember to pick it up when you back up though. That's the only thing. Filled it up with some gravel there on the feed. But yeah, so far so good. If you're wondering what the strap is, it's just part of some of my climbing tree gear, and I just hook the hydraulic top link cylinder through that when I'm unhooking things, or I used to. Those days are over now, so that can come off. Actually, I'll do that right now. All right, time for lunch. Okay, folks, through the magic of YouTube, I got this tacked up, and it is sitting on a quick hitch. So kind of those lower brackets are tacked, and that's going to show me where that hook needs to go on that frame. So my next step is to fabricate I guess kind of the bracket that hook is going to get into. Got some pins and just some material sitting there in place, and right now it's just being held by a ratchet strap parallel. So yeah, this is what is on the ballast box, so we're going to do something similar with that kind of spacing to be able to pick that up. Probably leave this upper one on there, gives you some options if someone wants to borrow it, doesn't have a quick hitch, because where the hook is going to grab is going to be quite a bit lower. It's almost going to come out straight, like horizontal off that red frame. So yeah, that's the next step. Okay, so I filmed drilling that out. I don't know what happened, but that's a carbide hole saw drill bit basically, and it works out nice for doing these bigger holes. So this is what I'm thinking. That pin, so that's like a bushing I had made for another job with a grease fitting, but it's that's cold rolled, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. I'm going to get rid of the grease grease fitting. I'll just weld that shut. And then that pin actually came with the set for a floating top link. So I'm just going to put a washer on the inside of that and go ahead and use that pin. So this is the idea. I think it's going to work. I am going to pull this apart and grind down the areas that I need to weld, and I'll tack that up and then bring it back out here and try it. Probably put the forks through and just run it through all of the motions just to make sure there's no binding, and then it's going to pick up okay. And then if it all works out, I'll weld it up. Okay folks, well there it is. We didn't video putting it through its paces, but everything is good actually. It dropped into place. I put the forks back on. I did all the travel up and down and tilt and back and forth, and then I dropped the fork frame a few times and then drove away and then backed up and then picked it up with the quick hitch, and everything is working out really well. The only issue, a little bit of an issue, is when I was using this spacer here. This is a little bit thicker, a little larger diameter than this, I don't know, galvanized or plated one. This is the one, this full-size one is the one I was hoping to use. And being a little bit larger diameter, the hook on the quick hitch is picking weight up on this before it picks up in the lower hooks, if that makes any sense. So the like the locks on the quick hitch on one side would not engage. So then when I switched over to the smaller one, everything was fine, and you can see that it's just a little smaller diameter. That's all it takes. So at that point I gotta, I can cut these welds or cut the tacks and make another adjustment, or I can turn down this full-size one on the lathe. And the only difference is this smaller one, I could make spacers for that, and just to take up that side-to-side movement, or I can just turn this one down, and then it'll take up that full width between these two pieces here. So I don't know. I'll probably turn it down, other than put a spacer in there. I don't know if it makes much difference in the function. When I pick up with the hook, I want the hook to be on this spacer, all of it. So it needs to be centered. Mind you, you don't always pick up exactly in the center between these two. It could be off to one side or not, or one side or the other. So it would be better if this piece took up that full distance in between. So that's probably what I'll do, is turn that down on the lathe. It's got trimming a little bit. It's a little bit long right now, like a 32nd of an inch, and it'll fit right in there. The pin fits in there as well, nice and snug, so that's a nice fit. So yeah, that's kind of the last step. I'll probably weld this out tonight, clean up. It's a train wreck in the shop. Once you start doing fab, everything just falls apart and you got tools everywhere. I'll probably clean up tonight, clean up the shop, and then weld this out. Just trying to think about welding. Got lots of options. I was gonna MIG spray it, spray arc it, but I don't think this is overly heavy tubing. It might be 3/16 tubing. So if I spray that, because this is heavier wall, trying to get enough heat, might blow through this tube here if I spray it, because it's a really hot process. I did put a bevel on those, so the weld can chew in there pretty good. Other option, I can stick weld that with 7018, put a 6010 root in there and then do 7018, or do the whole thing with 7018. Or what I might do is pulse spray MIG. I can control the heat a little bit better that way. Just that microsecond of freezing action that happens with the pulse when you're spraying, you know, it puts in a tremendous amount of heat, just like regular spray, but it allows just that momentary, just allows the puddle to solidify, you know, just for a split second. So that's what allows you to spray like out of position with pulse, but also when you're dealing with thick to thin material, it's really nice, because, you know, of course you're trying to have your amperage up to get through your thick material, but like I said, I'm quite sure that this tubing is thinner. So yeah, I mean, when I look at some of the welds that were on here from the factory, and I picked up the maximum amount on this, and you know, nothing broke. So I'm sure, I mean, even if I short circuit MIG it, I mean, I worked at Case in Hamilton for a number of years, welding big farm implements for the back of tractors, big stuff. And it was all heavy tubing, 3/8, 1/2 inch, and everything was just short circuit MIG welded. And you know, we never had any failures where we had to, you know, change a standard operating procedure. So I don't know. I would really like to stick weld it. I don't do that enough, and I don't get an opportunity too often, you know, to do something for myself with stick. I don't know, we'll see, to give it some thought. Anyway, pretty happy with how things turned out, since I just kind of jumped on this today, and you know, kind of a quick project, but yeah, I'll get it welded out tonight. I'm gonna take a little break and give it some thought, and then we'll check in shortly. Okay folks, so it is the next day, and after thinking about this last night, I decided to cut all the tacks and make the adjustments to the fit. And that gave me the opportunity to go back to using this piece here. This is what I really wanted to do in the first place. I don't have to use any spacers. And then just thinking about the load that's going to be applied to the top link here, especially with that hydraulic top link cylinder. I just thought I better add some gussets there. This one that came original is built a little bit differently. So because my hook is going to be lower than that, I don't really have the opportunity to tie it in the same way that they did in the original version. So that's the idea with the gussets. So cut a couple gussets and got them tacked in. So yeah, now I'm kind of at a time crunch. I really am to the point where I went from not needing this to suddenly needing this. So I'm going to try to get